श्रीराघवं दशरथात्मजमप्रमेयम् सीतापतिं रघुकुलान्मयरत्नदीपम् आजानुबाहुम् अरविन्ददलायताक्षम् रामम् निशाचर विनाशकरम् नमामि नमामि नमामि
Ramakatha Rasavahini. Chapter 7, Part 6. Maharaja Janaka welcomed Emperor Dasharatha at the very entrance gate of his city. He welcomed the ministers, sages and priests as befitted their position and status. He arranged for them to rest for the night in allotted residences. As soon as day dawned, Dasharatha sent for the priests who specialized in ritual lore, the queens and the kinsmen, and alerted them to be ready and available the moment they were wanted. Meanwhile, Janaka arrived at the mansion where Dasharatha was and took him to the special enclosure where the rite was being celebrated. Seats had been allotted there for the preceptors, the emperor and his entourage, according to their rank and authority. When all had occupied their seats, Janaka welcomed Dasharatha. "You are coming to Mithila with these great sages, these foremost Brahmins, and your kinsmen and escort augurs great good fortune for us. It marks the fruition of the good we have done in our past lives. I am sure great joy has filled your mind at the valor and victory of your son. I am about to enter into relationship with the great Raghu dynasty, resplendent with the boundless heroism of its science. My dynasty is about to be sanctified more than ever before by this kinship. I believe this is a result of the blessings showered on me by my forefathers. Maharaja, this morning, the sacrificial rite we have been celebrating is coming to a close. I have thought of celebrating the marriage of Sita and Rama after its conclusion. I plead for your assent." Dasharatha was thrilled with bliss. His face was lit by bright smiles. He said, "Maharaja, you are the donor. Elders declare that a gift is to be received at the sweet will and pleasure of the donor. So I am ever prepared to take the gift whenever it pleases you." When Dasharatha spoke with such wit and wisdom, with such heart-melting warmth of affection, Janaka was overwhelmed with spiritual bliss surging within him. By then, Rama and Lakshmana had entered the enclosure with sage Vishwamitra. They prostrated before their father and their preceptors, Vasishtha, Vamadeva and others. Dasharatha's eyes glistened with delight as they fell upon the sons he had missed so long. He drew them to himself. He placed his hands on their shoulders and pressed them to his bosom. Seeing the father's bliss while fondling his sons, the Brahmins and ministers forgot themselves in appreciation of the depth of his affection. They were lost in admiration. Dasharatha conversed intimately with his sons and listened to their sweet, simple descriptions of the right they had guarded from desecration by demonic forces. They told him the incidents of the journey from Vishwamitra's hermitage to Mithila. The narrative was heard also by Vasishtha, Vamadeva and other sages, as well as by Bharata, Shatrughna, Sumantra and many ministers, courtiers and nobles. They spent the night recapitulating the wonder and mystery that formed the warp and woof of that narrative. Meanwhile, Janaka was immersed in preparations for the wedding. He was mostly in the palace itself. He invited the chief priest Satyananda to the court and prayed to him reverentially to start collecting men and materials for the various rites preliminary to the actual wedding rite. The sage replied, "Maharaja, the rite concluded just today. During the next 2 or 3 days, there are a few hours that are auspicious for the ceremonials. I can give details if you want to know." Janaka saluted Satyananda and, standing with folded hands, said, "Master, I received Emperor Dasharatha's assent last night. This is indeed a sign of extreme good fortune. My younger brother Kushadwaja is not presently here. He has been very busy supplying provisions for the sacrificial yajna as and when the high priests asked for them. I am reluctant to celebrate this most auspicious ceremony without his presence at my side. I don't want to deprive him of this share of joy. I have set afoot plans to get him here quickly. I feel it would be best if we fix the day and hour after his arrival." Satyananda replied, "Good, that would make us all happy beyond calculation," and he left the palace. Janaka sent messengers with instructions to bring his brother to Mithila with expedition. They found him in his capital city, Sankasya, for they were taken there by fleet-footed horses, which sped faster than others. They reported to him the developments at Mithila. Kushadwaja was overcome with the flood of spiritual bliss that surged through him. He collected his kith and kin as well as his entourage in great haste. He had chariots loaded with gifts and presents, offerings and precious materials. He started off that very night and quickly reached Mithila. Janaka hastened to meet him, for he was counting the minutes that were hurrying by. He clasped his brother in fond embrace and was filled with inexpressible delight. Kushadwaja fell at his elder brother's feet and prostrated before Satyananda. Then all three sat on raised seats and deliberated on the course of action. After deciding on what had to be done, they sent for the highly respected elder statesman Sudama and told him, "Minister of State, please go to Dasharatha and pray to him to come here, to this palace, with ministers, priests, courtiers, kinsmen, and others he would like to bring with him. Bring him with due honors." Sudama took with him a group of courtiers, scholars, and royal priests. He got tastefully decorated chariots ready to bring the imperial party and reached the palace where Dasharatha was staying. He submitted sweetly and softly to him the message he had brought and, with profound obeisance, invited him to Janaka's palace. Dasharatha was ready. He moved out with his entourage and reached Janaka's court hall very soon. They greeted each other as befitted the occasion and their respective status and occupied the seats laid for them. Then Dasharatha rose and said, "Janaka, for the Ikshvaku dynasty, the sage Vasishtha is God on earth. He is our supreme preceptor. He can speak with full authority on the traditions of our dynasty." Dasharatha sat down and Vasishtha stood before the assembly and spoke. "Listen, all those who have assembled. Brahma, the unmanifested supreme, the eternal, the pure, created Marichi through the exercise of will. Marichi's son was Kashyapa, whose son was Surya. Surya's son was Manu. Manu had a son named Vaivaswata Manu. He ruled over the people and earned the appellation Prajapati. A son Ikshvaku was born to him, who was the first overlord of Ayodhya. So the dynasty itself came to be called the Ikshvaku line. Ikshvaku's son was Kukshi. Kukshi's son was Vikukshi. His son was Bana, and Bana's son was Anaranya. Anaranya had a son named Trishanku, and Trishanku's son was Dundumara. Dundumara's son was Yuvanaswa. Mandata was the son of Yuvanaswa, and his son Susandhi had two sons, Devasandhi and Prasenajit. The famous Bharata was the son of Devasandhi. Bharata's son was Asita. When Asita ruled the king, a coalition of Haihayas, Talajangas and Sasibindu invaded the realm, and Asita had to flee to the Himalayan region with his two queens. He took refuge in the region called Briguprasravana, and after a few years passed away there. Both his queens were pregnant when he died. They sought asylum in Chavana's hermitage, who was filled with compassion at their plight. He consoled them, saying, "Mothers, don't entertain any fear. This is your home. You will have safe delivery here and strong, splendor-filled, fortunate babies." His blessing came true. Within a few days, the elder queen delivered a son named Sagara, who was installed as the emperor of Ayodhya. Sagara's son was Aswamanja, whose son was Amshumanta. Amshumanta's son was Dilipa, and his son was Bhagiratha. Bhagiratha begot Kakutstha. Kakutstha's son was Raghu, and Raghu's son was Pravardha. Pravardha had Sudarshana as son, and Sudarshana Agnivarna. Sigaraga was Agnivarna's son, and Sigaraga's son was Maru. After him, the throne came from father to son, to Prasasruka, Ambarisha, and Nahusha in succession. Nahusha's son was Yayathi, and Yayathi's son was Nabhaka. Nabhaka had Aja as his son. Dasharatha is the eldest son of Aja, and his four sons, each a precious jewel, are Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata and Shatrughna. Rama, the eldest of the four, raised, bent, strung and broke the bow of Shiva. O royal sage, this royal dynasty is sacred and pure. Everyone born in this line has earned spiritual illumination and has shone in spiritual splendor. They are rooted in righteousness and are in the front rank of heroes. Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata and Shatrughna are precious lambs that shed lustre on the annals of the clan. I suggest that it would be desirable to have this auspicious marriage ceremony celebrated for Lakshmana also, for he is the reflection of Rama. Your daughter Urmila can well shine as Lakshmana's spouse. Don't hesitate. Resolve accordingly and make the necessary preparations. Vasishtha blessed the gathering and resumed his seat. After listening to the narrative of the Ikshvaku dynasty from the lips of the great sage Vasishtha, Janaka rose from his throne and said, "O great sage, when the scion of a noble clan intends to gift his daughter in marriage, he has to announce the historic glory of his clan, doesn't he? I have resolved to follow your example and recite the story myself, for it gives me great joy to recapitulate the names of my forefathers and recall their majesty. My birth with this body happened through the blessings of forefathers of this dynasty. It will be justified and its purpose fulfilled only if I describe them myself in this vast gathering." Janaka stood prayerfully before all. Vasishtha agreed with the request and gave the permission. Janaka then began the narration. Great sage, revered preceptors, and Maharaja Dasharatha. In the very distant past, an emperor named Nimi adhered firmly to the path of righteousness and was therefore famous for mighty and foresight. His son Mithi built this city, Mithila. to serve as the capital for this kingdom. He was the first sovereign of this region. His reign was very popular and his subjects were happy and prosperous. Mithi's son Sudavasu had a son Nandivardhana who ruled after him. Nandivardhana's son was Suketu and Suketu's son was Devaratha. Brihadratha was Devaratha's son and Mahavira was Brihadratha's son. Mahavira had vast prowess, as his name indicates. His son Sudrithi had a son Drishtaketu. Drishtaketu's celebrated son was Haryasva. Haryasva had a son Maru. Maru's son was Pratindaka. Pratindaka's son was Kirtiratha. And Kirtiratha's son was Devamedha. Devamedha's son was Vibhuda. Vibhuda's son was Kirtiratha. Kirtiratha's son was Mahorama. And Mahorama's son was Risharupa. He was a talented ruler, a strict adherent of Dharma. He was acclaimed as a great soul, a Mahatma. Risharupa is my father. I am indeed very happy to acknowledge that my father was an ideal personage. The truth is that I now rule happily over this city Mithila as a result of the merit acquired and handed down as hermitage by my forefathers. My brother Kushadwaja is much more to me than a brother. I revere him as a divine personality. He is more of a friend to me than a brother. I brought him up with such love and affection that I have developed great attachment to him. Years ago, when the king of Sankasya demanded that I yield the Shiva's bow to him or else meet him in battle, I refused and he laid siege to Mithila city. This was a signal for a bitter war between us, during which Sudanva was killed and I made my brother the ruler of Sankasya. That city shines on the banks of the Ikshumati river. Seen from afar, it reminds one of the famous celestial chariot of the gods. Let me tell you all of another auspicious idea that the gods have inspired in me. I have brought him here today so that he might share in the joy of the wedding celebrations. Brahmarshi, you commanded that Rama wed Sita and Lakshmana wed Urmila, my other daughter. I accept the command with immeasurable joy. Sita is a celestial damsel and she will wed Rama as the hero's gift. And I bow my head in all humility and gladness and give Urmila to Lakshmana. I have another representation to make for your consideration. Maharaja Dasharatha, you have 4 sons, all born of the same heavenly gift of grace. Why allow 2 to remain single? It will contribute to our happiness fully if they too are wedded. Today is the asterism of Magha. This is a good day to commence the rites and have the preliminary ceremonials. The day after, under the asterism Uttara Falguna, I seek your assent to gift in marriage my brother's 2 daughters, Mandavi to Bharata and Shrutakirti to Shatrughna. At this, everyone in the huge gathering acclaimed the proposal, exclaiming, "Most welcome, Shubham!" This applause rent the sky. End of Chapter 7, Part 6. Sai Ram.
सीताराम श्री राम जी की महिमा अपार, राम जी की महिमा पार। सुन लो तो बेड़ा पार, सुन लो तो बेड़ा पार। श्री राम जी की महिमा अपार, राम जी की महिमा पार। श्री राम नीरज नयना मुखारविंदा, श्यामल छवि अति सुंदर राम। करुणा स्वरूप श्री राम, निर्मल स्वभाव श्री राम। करुणा स्वरूप निर्मल स्वभाव, भक्तों के प्राण गुणशीलवान। नीरज नयना मुखारविंदा, श्यामल छवि अति सुंदर राम। रविकुल मंडन दशरथ नंदन, मुनि मनरंजन नयन विराम। राम श्री राम श्री राम श्री राम राम श्री राम। श्री राम जी की महिमा अपार, राम जी की महिमा अपार। जय जय श्री राम, जय जय श्री राम, जय जय श्री राम। जिनकी कृपा ने पाथर बिखारे, एक ही बाण ने दुष्ट संहारे। जिनकी कृपा ने पाथर बितारे, एक ही बाण ने दुष्ट संहारे। चरणों की धूल ने पापी उधारे, जन्मदिन उन्हीं का मना लो आज, जन्मदिन उन्हीं का मना लो आज। मुबारक हो सबको जन्मदिन की रात। रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। राम सीता राम सीता राम सीता राम, राम सीता राम